Howdy y'all, welcome to Hazenboro Craftworks. I'm the Alchemist, and we're here on my Thursday video. I appreciate you tuning in, and we're in that, no man's week, I guess, where we're halfway between March and halfway between April, and been hearing a lot of hate on Travelers. And I'm sure most of you know what Travelers is, and for any of y'all who don't, it's whiskey that's one of those, famous folk whiskeys. Country western star George Stapleton teamed up with Buffalo Trace and created his own whiskey. And, well, if you know me at all, when something gets a lot of hate, I can't help myself. I gotta try it out. And he's got 2 releases of it. One's a 90 proof, like a lot of Buffalo Trace is, and the other one's a little bit higher proof. I believe it's 120. And the first release that's getting most of the hate is that 90 proof. And so I thought I'd just grab a bottle of each and compare them and see if I agree with it, or if one's better than the other, and see what all this hype is all about. And so it's 121 proof. Sorry, I think I said 120. And this 121 proof just came out this year. And these are not just the typical Buffalo Trace mash bill. For what I understand, it does have some of the typical Buffalo Trace mash bill in it, which is believed to be mash bill 1, which is 90%-ish corn, less than 10% rye, and then the rest malted barley. And then it's also blended with some of the other Sazerac product, which is some Barton in there. And then I also read something where someone else speculated that there might be some sort of a Canadian blend in there, but I couldn't find any source to confirm that at all. But I found that most folk believe that it's Buffalo Trace and Barton blend. So I couldn't confirm 100% what this is, but that's the speculation that I found online on this one. But so first we're going to be trying the first release on this. Not too bad on the viscosity for a 90 proof. Okay, the nose is light. Kind of, a really light butterscotch. And I would have to say there's a fruitiness in there, and I have to say that I'd say it leans more towards the orchard fruits. More like an apple, but not a good sweet apple. More like, what are those apples that are like a little bit green and a little bit red? and they're not like mega sweet. They're like in between. Is that the Macintosh apple? Whichever apple that is. Because there's just a hint of apple, but not super sweet. Let's go in for a sip. Not much at all like the nose. There's no The butterscotch turns to a very light, refined honey. Almost like if you had the honey in a hard candy, not like a bit of honey, but if you had like a, and not even like a honey cough drop, because it doesn't have any menthol in it. It doesn't have any harsh effect. It's just like if you had a very refined honey in a hard candy that's just incredibly refined and light honey taste. And I'd even say it's I lose that apple that I thought I had in the nose. Yeah, I still get it on the nose, but I lose that on the palate. I'm not getting any barrel or barrel spice necessarily, but something a bit floral. Interesting. It's kind of like, it's more Scotch-like, really. Which, quite honestly, would make me lean towards the guys that are saying that there's might be some Canadian in there, to be very honest. Now these both go for, around here in my town anyway, they both go for $39.99. And I'd be very interested to hear from any of y'all what they go for in your town. So put that in the comments if you've had these or seen these and what they're going for in your town, especially compared to a Buffalo Trace. Because like a Buffalo Trace, on the nose anyway, I get decent caramel, I get nice barrel spices, and even a hint of cherry on the nose from a good Buffalo Trace. And I know it's unfair to really compare this to Buffalo Trace because it's a blended whiskey. Whenever I hear of a Buffalo Trace product, maybe it's unfair, but you know, I think of those delightful characteristics. And on the palate on a Buffalo Trace, the caramel isn't like a caramel bomb, but you still get that caramel, you still get that cinnamon, you get a touch of vanilla in there, but you get a nice barrel in the back of the palate. And I got no barrel on that 90 proof, that first release, but let's see what we get on the second release. Okay, I do get a little bit more caramel on this one. This is not so much that Scotch feel with that I got on the other one, or a little Canadian blandness. Some nice caramel, even a little bit of I'd say some barrel spice. but not pronounced enough for me to call it out at this moment. And a hint of vanilla in there. So we're starting out a little bit better. Let's see what the palate tells me. Okay. Steps above. I get the caramel. I've got a nice bit of heat that I enjoy on the Kentucky Chew on the tip of the palate. It does wrap around the sides of the palate. The heat ends quickly on the back of the palate. I've got no Kentucky hug. But I do have a nice, almost burnt caramel on the mid palate. A very nice, sweet caramel on the tip of the palate. Goes to a burnt caramel on the back. And there's a dark fruit somewhere in there. Let me see if I can figure that one out. It's not cherry like I get from a Buffalo Trace. I do have to say that burnt caramel is nice on the mid palate. It's a compliment to that caramel I get on the front of the palate. Still trying to figure out that dark fruit I'm getting. It's really more of a fig than a dark cherry, I would say. A little bit of fig note, which I enjoy that fig note. It's just not pronounced enough to really come out and say right away, oh yeah, that's fig. I knew it wasn't cherry, but it took me a little bit to figure it out, but yeah, it's really fig after a few sips. It comes through. This does have barrel on the finish, which I do enjoy. It has some barrel spices, but again, they're not pronounced enough for me to get. Is that bad? Not necessarily. But in the end, I'd have to say that, you know, around my area here, I can get a Buffalo Trace for $36. Both of these Travelers were $39.99 here in my small town, South Dakota. I can get my Weller's Special Reserve for that same $36.99 price as I can get a Buffalo Trace. And to me, there's more flavor in that Weller's Special Reserve and the Buffalo Trace than I have in the Travelers for $39.99. But now this 121 proof, I like that proof. There's a little bit more flavor. Well, a lot more flavor than the first release at 90 proof. So there's my review on them. This one to me is not worth the $39.99, but I don't know. I'd finish that bottle off, and I'd still lean towards the Weller Special Reserve or the Buffalo Trace for the money though. So as y'all know, I'd love to have y'all coming back around. So please take it easy. Don't drink and drive. Cheers.